Well, we're back, everyone. I want to welcome you to the show. I'm Dr. Daryl Wolf. This is DocStar TV. And as you can see, just below here, we've got Terry, and Terry Mullins is the creator of Infinite Iodine. Now, I'll start off and give you a little briefer on this. We are calling this show, okay, Colds and Flus and Your Child, okay? And understand something. Isn't it great how almost every parent has been traumatized by the medical system, that when their child has a fever, a cold, a sniffle, it's the end of the world. Nobody knows what to do anymore. My grandmother, my grandmother's mother, my great-great-grandmother, they all knew what to do. My great-great-grandmother, okay, there wasn't even an AMA. There wasn't even a medical association. There was herbs in the backyard. There was garlic, okay? There was turmeric. There was coffee enemas. Now there's what, okay? There is antibiotics. And guess what? We know what they do. They go in and they blow up the bad bacteria and the good bacteria, and your bacteria make up 85% of your immune system. So guess what they did? They just annihilated your child's immune system. All for what? An ear infection, okay? A sinus infection, a sniffle. A fever is not the end of the world. Understand something. I'm going to tell you something right now. Giving your child Infinite Iodine and doing a warm water, structured water, Black Diamond or Tummy Love enema, and the fever's gone in 5 to 10 minutes. And with Infinite Iodine that will disinfect a virus in 15 seconds, I think we got this. So guess what? We can program you to lose it. And when you lose it as a parent, okay, you are giving away your children's immune system. And you can say, what a trauma queen that Dr. Wolf is. Well, guess what? You'll find out what trauma is when you annihilate your child's immune system with antibiotics. Because understand this, any good doctor worth their salt is going to tell you never to take antibiotics unless you're in a life-threatening situation, because they will cause a life-threatening situation for you down the road. So I want to bring on Terry, and I want to tell you why we have the purest iodine and the only non-toxic iodine on the planet. I'm not telling you the rest of them are going to kill you. I'm telling you that we have the only non-toxic iodine. You cannot take too much and hurt yourself. That is very important. Do you know how many people I talk to that have taken Lugol's iodine and Nacean iodine, and they've tried to bring their thyroid up, and they took too much, and they actually lost too much weight, and now they can't get their weight back on? Do you want me to keep going? And understand something. Every living creature, okay, whether it's a baby, a teenager, an adult, an elderly person, needs iodine every day. And we're going to find out why, all the reasons why every pregnant mother needs to be on Infinite Iodine, and how she cannot overdose on it, but how she can bring up the intelligence level and the immune system of their child. And also, by doing Infinite Iodine, you are keeping your child from what? A lot of the problems that children are born with today. Terry, take it away.
Always good to be with you, Daryl.
Thank you.
I think a good place for us to start would be Infinite Iodine is a very particular form of iodine. It's molecular iodine, and it's molecular iodine in its purest form. Now, what I'd like to do is, I guess, spend a few minutes with a fun education. And iodine right now, so that you know, is in all of us. It's in us right now, okay? And it's in there in several different forms in our body. And a good way to, I guess, explain this process, if it's already in us and we don't even know it's there, the best way to talk about this is, most people have heard of iodized table salt. And it was introduced in the 1880s for the general health of the world. And it was something that was the very first dietary supplement that was ever introduced. And they used spice, which is salt, in order to actually have it as the delivery mechanism to deliver iodine to the population. So let me explain to you the different forms of iodine, because they're often confused, or they're often misnamed, and people don't understand exactly what it is. So a simple way to explain this is, if you take iodized table salt, You're going to have iodide in your stomach. It's critical. We need to have this in our body as a micronutrient daily from the day we were conceived to the day we leave. Easiest way to put it. So what iodide does in our stomach is there's a small percentage of our stomach acid is hydrochloric. That is the only acid in our stomach that will convert iodide into molecular iodine. Now, iodine's been studied for 200 years by the medical and the science community. All right, so let's uncover a few of the studies and some of the facts that are available to us so that we can understand this.
Yeah, so we're not coming from just a natural point of view. We're coming from, everybody wants to come from a medical point of view. Not that I would ever trust a medical point of view anymore, but the reality is there's been almost more studies done on iodine than any other nutraceutical out there, eh, Terry?
Any other element on the earth, it's been more studied.
Yeah.
And we'll talk today about the human aspects because we use it in multiple different places around us and we just don't realize it. So let's continue. So what happens is within our bodies, it's able to cycle this element into different forms that are critical for us to live as a human. So we ingest iodide, and this is an element that we need to take into our bodies every day. It's not something where we store all of it and we think we're fine. It's not something our body produces. If we take iodide into our stomach, it will then convert a small amount into molecular iodine. Molecular iodine is nature's finest antiviral. The medical industry has learned how to use it, but in order to use it, they've had to actually complex it with chemicals or acids and all kinds of things that are just not good for us to ingest. But they were able to use it as a world-class disinfectant. So imagine that. Your stomach is producing molecular iodine. The science community and the medical community figured out molecular iodine is the finest antiviral that they've had their hands on for 200 years. Okay, so the work that they've done, and that's why they introduced betadine in the 1950s. They called it tamed iodine because they attached it to a plastic molecule. It releases molecular iodine, and that actually changed the medical industry and at least made us feel safer walking into a hospital environment. We're talking the 1950s.
Terry, can I interrupt for just a second? Do you want me to, when the questions come up, do you want me to ask them or do you want me to scroll through later and come back to them?
Oh, no, actually, it'd be fun to have a little interaction back and forth. That'd be a lot of fun.
Okay, all right.
So to give you an idea, you now have molecular iodine that's being generated in our body, and we have iodide that's in there from something we've consumed, table salt or a piece of fish.
Right.
All right? That's where we get our iodide from. Now, that enters into your bloodstream, and our bodies are from nature. Nature is very efficient in what it does. Very simple. So if it's generating molecular iodine in our body and it's nature's finest antiviral, what do you think it's doing? Number one, all right? So it has numerous functions within our body. Now, as our bloodstream passes our thyroid, most people don't know they have a thyroid unless they have a problem, all right? So I find that very interesting. But without our thyroid functioning properly, a little magic doesn't happen. And here's the interesting thing. Iodide, when it passes by your thyroid will extract iodide and convert it into atomic iodine. Now you have three forms. You have iodide, you have molecular iodine, and you have atomic iodine. Right. We know what molecular iodine does, okay? What does atomic iodine do? Because your thyroid makes it. And understand, it's nowhere else in nature do you find atomic iodine. It's only generated in our thyroid. So what happens is our thyroid attaches that to the T3, T4 hormones.
Yeah.
We've heard of those, okay? Those hormones are incredibly critical for our whole body because the T3 hormone enters every single cell of our bodies. We've got more than 35 trillion of them. It's in every cell and every organ. T3s have to go into the nucleus of a cell. The nucleus, the tiniest part of the cell, the brain works. It actually goes in there and instructs that cell what its function and what it should do in life because a cell is alive. Okay? So from that perspective, it's critical, and that's one of the three iodine species that are heading towards that cell. So a new cell is born. A T3 goes in to the nucleus right away. Now that cell knows what it's supposed to do. All right? If it's going to be a skin cell, you know it's not going to be a toe cell. All right? So without something telling that nucleus what to do, if the T3 doesn't go in there, then that cell doesn't know what it's supposed to be, and it becomes a rogue cell. That's just the science. Now, the extension of that is you have molecular iodine running through your bloodstream. It actually enters the cell, and we know what molecular iodine does. It is a protector, and within the cell, it'll protect it from invaders coming in. This work has been done in science so that it'll protect it against viruses or bacteria trying to invade. There's been 20 to 30 years done on cancer work with molecular iodine that is extraordinary, and that's sort of a whole other discussion from a medical perspective. But iodine has this role of protector in the cell, molecular iodine. Its second function, which is critical, the medical term is called apoptosis. If your skin is meant to last, a skin cell is meant to last 23 days, what kills it at the end of the 23 days? Because it's alive, and it doesn't want to die. Molecular iodine is part of the structural function of each cell that it'll actually terminate the life of the cell, period. And then it's flushed from our systems, okay? If molecular iodine is not in that cell, that process doesn't happen, and that cell is going to turn into a rogue cell, and who knows what it becomes. It sure isn't normal.
Okay, everybody, I hope you're getting this. That's how important iodine is. When a cell, okay, becomes too old or becomes too dysfunctional to carry on its proper processes to keep you healthy, iodine makes sure that it gets packed up and out of the body as soon as possible, because you don't want it to become a rogue cell. And a rogue cell is, well, why don't you just tell them what a rogue cell is, Terry?
It's very simple. It's a cell that you don't want to have in your body, and we constantly are trying to eliminate cells from our body. So the third
can I say this? A rogue cell will damage other healthy cells. It will actually damage them. So we need the iodine to go in, and it's just like with a cancer cell. If the P53 gene can no longer be turned on because there's not enough ions of calcium in the cell to actually get rid of something that can become cancerous, it's the same thing with the iodine. If it's not there, the rogue cell will cause damage. It's like a pinball machine, and it's banging into the other cells, causing damage. Okay.
So the third form of iodine that's running through our blood is what we ingested, is iodide. An easy way to explain this is the ocean is the largest reservoir in the world for iodide. We have 1,000 tons every day that evaporates off into the atmosphere, and it interacts, and there's very cool stuff that goes on there that we can talk about as well. But the fact is, within the ocean, all of the ocean life, the plants, everything that's in there has iodide in it. It has to be there. It's essential for life to grow. A cell is the same thing. So if you imagine a cell being a swimming pool in your backyard, a big round pool, and you throw a tennis or a ping pong ball into the middle, that's the nucleus. So within that whole environment of that swimming pool, iodide enters into the cell as a nutrient for the cell, allows it to grow and function the way that it is supposed to. Without it, it can't reproduce, for example. And humans, because we've got so many cells in us, are a classic example that is, if a woman is deficient in iodine, very difficult for her to get pregnant, because the body says, I don't have the building materials to produce it. And this is a fundamental, crucial building material that it's fun to uncover the science, I guess is the best way to put it. Because it's not that it's hidden, it's just people don't know to ask about it or to actually look into it to see how important this is, because it is not out there in the public view. Easiest way to put it. Now, we talked about iodized table salt in 1880 being added in Switzerland. It took 40 years to get to America. It took another 20 years to get to Canada. It only arrived in the Middle East 30 years ago. So this is an ongoing education of the governments globally, and they're, even today, supporting iodized table salt. But it's only a mechanism that can be delivered if it's controlled, if it's the right product going in there, and if consumers are going to eat the product, and you have to eat a lot of table salt, okay? And our diet's telling us we don't need that much salt by comparison to this was the spice of choice in 1880. Today, we have infinite iodine. We'll do the exact same thing and a whole lot more.
And if I can say this, we are not promoting table salt here. Okay, we're not.
No,
So,
it's
and
the
nobody should be
understanding.
eating table salt because it lacks the other proper balance of minerals. You'll mess your body up. So don't do that. You know,
So
things like
this,
Himalayan or Celtic or real salt. So just know that. Go ahead, Terry.
so the thing is, Daryl, in 1880, they used table salt because it was the best way to get this around the world. It
I
was a
get it.
spice that they attached an element to. All right. Well, you go and ask a 25-year-old today, have you ever heard of iodized table salt? And if they say yes, you can say, do you know what it does? They have no clue. No clue whatsoever. So from approximately 55-year-old and younger, they have very little knowledge of what iodine is or why it was added into our diet. And
Terry,
it's critical.
if I can say something, everybody, and I'm not trying to put anybody down, but we have medical doctors, nurses, chiropractors, naturopaths that come to take our course. And I know you guys aren't going to believe this and you're going to think I'm full of hoopla, but go look at our testimonials and all of them say the same thing, that in a 9-day training program, okay? 9-day training program, they learn more about nutrition in that than 4 years of college. And understand something. Real nutrition is not in government approved schools, Terry. Not that I see anymore.
No, that's a fact, and I'm looking at actually working with not only the medical industry in their educational system, but also the nutritional system in order to teach the teachers so that they put it into the curriculum to teach the students that become teachers.
I've got somebody saying here, Terry, iodine in table salt evaporates, I believe. Is that true? I've never heard of that.
Yes, it does. It does over time. There's definitely shelf issues with table salt. So
okay, all right.
Is in today's environment, if you look at old technologies, there's only a handful of iodine technologies that are beneficial to us that we've been able to use as humans. Okay.
Yeah.
And you look at them; they're all between 100, we call it 70 years and 200 years old. Infinite Iodine is made with 21st century iodine technology. That's the only product in its purest form that our body actually produces it. So if we get back on track a little bit, now that you understand this sort of elemental trinity of iodine and how it'll change species in our bodies, let me give you why we have molecular iodine.
Okay.
And what is yes.
Can I just, before you start that, I've got somebody asking a question here. They want to know why, okay? She says, I use Lugol's iodine and my husband uses Nacean iodine. Why would I switch to yours?
Okay. Let's talk about iodine technologies, all right? Lugol's solution was developed in 1825. It came out to the market in 1827. That was the first iodine drug that was to treat severe diseases, including tuberculosis. This is 1827, all right? It was only discovered in 1811. So Dr. Lugol's was a brilliant man to figure out he was trying to make molecular iodine, and he couldn't because it doesn't dissolve in water. He had the crystals.
Right.
They discovered they had it. He found out as a chemist that potassium iodide would dissolve the crystals into molecular iodine. That's what he produced. And it's a very, very high dosing product. It's meant to treat severe illnesses is what it was designed for. It wasn't designed as a daily product. It had a specific purpose in mind. Always. It was a drug product in 1827 that you can still go and buy at the store today. All right? And Health Canada, I think it was 2 years ago, put out a warning on Lugol's that it can be very dangerous. And you have to be careful how it's administered because you can easily overdose yourself with the product.
Can I tell you something? Can I say something?
Yes.
I've got a lady, okay, and her name is Christine. That's about as far as I'll go with that. But she's also, here's the problem. And when you get older, you better not make this mistake, ladies or men. She went and she was told by someone who tested her that her thyroid was low. So, and they told her to double the dose on the bottle.
Wow. Nope.
In 6 weeks, she dropped 15 pounds.
Yeah.
And guess what? We're helping her and it's slowly coming back. It's so hard for it to come back. She's in her 70s. So it's very hard to come back. So the older you get, she didn't lose weight, everybody. She lost muscle. So let's get that. Her thyroid was overactive and working so fast and so hard, it needed something to chew on. And she lost muscle. She didn't lose weight. So now we're trying to get the muscle back by giving her more amino acids, trying to get her to work out. And the reality is you're not going to get that, are you, when you do Infinite Iodine?
No, Lord, no, not at all. Infinite Iodine is the only microdosing iodine product in the marketplace. Each spray contains 30 micrograms. That's it. We need 150 micrograms just for our thyroid. And now that you understand what your thyroid produces, the T3, T4 hormones, okay?
Yeah.
We lose 1 million cells every minute. We lose 1 million cells in our body as adults every single minute. So that means we need to replace them. If you're going to replace them, you have to have the hormones, you have to have the molecular iodine, you have to have the iodine in order for the replacement cells to be healthy. That's the fundamentals. So what your thyroid is producing, in order to make sure that your hormone production is sufficient, in order to be able to produce healthy new cells, is just the beginning. Now what happens if you get sick?
Can I say something too? Can
Yes.
I say something? Guess what, everyone? You're not going to believe this, but Infinite Iodine is an anti-aging product. If you don't believe me, start taking it and see if your skin doesn't get better, if you don't start looking more youthful. Remember, when you start balancing out the thyroid and the thyroid calms down and it does what it needs to do, well, that's the brilliance of chemistry. What do you think?
Okay. Well, let's wrap up with Lugol's and Nascent for a minute because we didn't finish there. So Lugol's iodine is a very high concentration of molecular iodine. And it also has a very high concentration of potassium iodide that is in that. So to put that quantity in your system, you can, it's in the protocol, it's only meant to be used for a short period of time and followed by a doctor. But people that are out in the general public that can buy this product can hurt themselves with it. You have to be very careful. It's not designed to be a daily micronutrient. That is not this product, okay? Potassium iodide pills are based on the Lugol's product. That is not a daily dietary supplement, far beyond the 150 micrograms that we follow with the RDA. So to keep us healthy every day, we know what we need. Now, let's talk about Nascent iodine for a minute. And it's an interesting...
Before you do the Nascent, can I just say this? Clarissa,
yes.
Guess what? We will be putting, as of, when the show started. So Infinite Iodine and Infinite Iodide are on sale, and they'll be on sale until Monday. Okay, Clarissa? So there's your answer. All right? Thank you. Go ahead.
Let's touch on Nascent for a minute. As I was talking to you about the different iodine technologies that have been created for humans. We had Lugol's that was produced. We then put iodine on table salt, okay, in 1880, which was really beneficial for us. In the late 1800s, they used alcohol to dissolve iodine. They made a tincture. Once again, a topical disinfectant. You don't want to consume it. It was so strong it could kill you. That's how powerful that was, okay? In the 1930s, a gentleman by the name of Edgar Cayce had a dream. And some people might have heard of this gentleman. He was a prophet in the 1930s. He had a dream that our bodies were missing nascent iodine. And he wrote a formula down. And the formula that they wrote down so that you understand what it is. You take tincture of iodine, and then you hit it with a massive amount of electricity to separate molecular iodine. Okay, the product we have is produced in nascent because it's dissolved in alcohol. We use water, they used alcohol back then. Okay, now to break that bond took a massive amount of electricity to separate it out as two positively charged nascent iodine molecules. Okay, so that's what nascent iodine is. They're overcharged single iodine molecules that you can't call them atomic because our body produces atomic. They've got something that's got a much higher charge on it. What does that charge do as it runs around your body and takes hours in order for it to dissipate is what they market? I have no clue. I'm an iodine science guy, and I've looked at all of the technologies, and nascent between you and I is just one that I don't understand because in the 1930s when it was made, they made it, and then they stopped making it. They thought, we don't need this. Okay?
Yeah.
It was brought back in the 80s, and people figured out there's a better way to electrify the molecule cheaper in order to separate it, and we can introduce a new iodine product.
Oh, I see people coming out with that. Even a new company came out with that just 2 months ago. Okay? And they call it a nutritional breakthrough.
All right, so here's the thing. On the nascent products, there's a couple of things. It's positively charged. I've just explained that to you, and it's
Right.
not natural, number one. Number two, they talk about thyroid support. We've just explained how the thyroid will remove iodide and turn it into atomic iodine for the T3, T4s. Now, it doesn't take molecular iodine. It allows it to bypass. It'll only take iodide to make this happen. It's a special process. If nascent iodine goes by, it'll bypass those two processes, and the thyroid thinks it's atomic and it'll attach it right to the T3, T4 hormones. That's what they're marketing as thyroid support. Well, if you're bypassing certain functions in your thyroid, don't you think over time it's like putting your arm in a sling for 2 years? You take your arm out of that sling, it's not going to work very well.
No, it's shriveled. It's shriveled.
So the idea with our thyroid is not to bypass its normal functions. It's to support its normal function.
Yes.
And we have the ability to support it. So if somebody indeed has partial thyroid function or no thyroid, well, nascent iodine doesn't do anything for no thyroid. Okay, for example. It also has nothing to do with the body's interactive processes to turn it back into molecular iodine and use it where it needs it in the body. So nascent, like I said, it's an interesting technology. I just don't understand the purpose because from a science perspective, it's a difficult one because there's never been any work done with nascent iodine. They always in the science point towards molecular iodine. Why? Why don't you do the work with nascent? Well, it's been around for almost 100 years. You would think somebody, if they believed in this, would take the time to do the clinical work and say, look what we have. It's never been done. So there's a lot of anecdotal information, Daryl, and it's one thing to talk to people, and it's, I deal in the medical world. Anecdotal information doesn't work very well in the medical world because these guys are medical scientists. And, Dr. Stephen J. Phillips, he's my medical advisor. He's part of my medical team, this gentleman.
Right.
Okay? He was the associate director of the National Library of Medicine. That is the pinnacle of the medical world. He ran the library. He was the guy. He's never heard of nascent iodine. Okay, for example. All right.
So that just tells you how scientifically sound it is.
Well, like I said, it's from I understand the chemistry. I understand how they make the product.
Yeah.
I still don't understand clearly how it functions in the body, because it might have some positive effects, but it may have some very negative ones, and nobody's done the work. But when you look at connecting dots logically, if you're bypassing certain functions in your body with a product, it's not a good thing for your body because it makes it sluggish, is the term Dr. Steve likes to use about our thyroid.
Right.
Our thyroid should never be sluggish. Providing you give it the fuel it needs, which is iodine,
Yes.
it's not sluggish. Now, with that, let's just have everybody understand something with molecular iodine. When you spray it at the back of your throat or on a surface or in the air, it doesn't matter. Molecular iodine, when it kills a bacteria or deactivates a virus, two very magical things happen there as well. It converts to a pure iodide. So at the back of your throat, when you spray this, it converts to an iodide after interaction with microbes. It goes into your stomach. Your stomach turns it back into molecular iodine again. Okay? So this is the only way the process happens. Now, when it kills these bacteria and these viruses, it leaves them intact. Not like chlorine or ozone or peroxide that burn things up, because our body naturally uses this to help.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes.
So if they're there and they're intact, it allows your body to recognize these dead materials.
Right.
And the medical community backs that is how antibody production actually works. Very natural.
Can I say something? You said something really good. You said that the infinite iodine will go in and it'll kill the bad bacteria. It won't hurt the good bacteria, everybody, but it'll kill the bad bacteria. And what will it do? It'll dismantle the virus, because you don't kill a virus, you dismantle it. Because, well, do your research, everyone. Viruses are in Greek, they're just poison or toxin. But that was great. I loved that you said that. Can we ask a question? People want to know what's the difference between the iodine and the iodide. And then another lady said that she had her thyroid removed. Would it do her any good to take the infinite iodine or infinite iodide? There's your two questions, okay?
Yep. The answer is, we'll start with the last one first. If a woman doesn't have a thyroid, she's more than likely on some type of a thyroid product, whether it's Synthroid or a natural type of product, in order to have a synthetic hormone inside your body, in order to run the nucleus of your cells. So you're putting a synthetic at the nucleus of every cell that's being produced. If you have no thyroid, that's what needs to happen. But that does not supply the molecular iodine or the iodide that we need.
Right.
So now, you have a choice. You can spray molecular iodine at the back of your throat. It will change the microflora. That's what molecular iodine does. That's nature. If you don't want to change the microflora at the back of your throat, then you can spray iodide. It won't kill anything. You swallow it. Your stomach will convert some of it into molecular iodine, and the iodide enters the bloodstream for the thyroid to use at a cellular level throughout every cell in our body. And when you talk about aging, you know, you mentioned that earlier in longevity. Well, healthy cells are going to live a healthy, long, normal life. The things that we do to our body shorten those cellular lives, and depending on how bad we're damaged, we don't live as long as we should. Very, very simple. So all we can do is try and live our very best life, and if we know that something as simple as this, that you can spray at the back of your throat, and you can reduce viral and bacterial loading, well, you're getting a micronutrient. Because understand, this is a micronutrient that your body is able to convert. No other micronutrient or dietary supplement or other element does that. This is the only one. So when we say we're uncovering the science, it's fun to work with these high-end doctors because they're medical scientists, and we can explain this in such a simple way versus high technical terms that go way over everybody's head. This is easier to do. And I believe that the explanation that I've given is something that people can understand. So, you know, the community, the medical community says you reduce the viral loading in your body, your immune system is going to have a better job dealing with the battles that it's going through all day.
Well, so, yeah, because it can spend its time and attention on what really matters, is giving you a beautiful life.
Yes. So here's the interesting thing, because often people, they think that iodine is either poisonous or it's this or it's that, and they've heard things because it's radioactive iodine that, you know, they put into you at the hospital for x-rays. You have other iodines that are so high dosing that people hurt themselves, and then everybody thinks, oh, don't take iodine. Our bodies are designed to genetically be near the ocean. When you go for a walk on the ocean, you're breathing iodide-enriched air.
Yes.
That goes into your lungs. It goes into your bloodstream. Your thyroid makes hormones. Very simple. It's in the air when you're by the ocean.
Yeah.
You go for a swim in the ocean. Iodide from the seawater absorbs through your skin, goes and fortifies skin cells on the way. But the thing is, it gets to the bloodstream so your thyroid can use it. You eat a piece of codfish for dinner. That iodide goes into your stomach to produce molecular iodine. The iodide helps the atomic iodine, and you've got this magical thing going on. So
you got to start out, the basic thing is you've got to start out with the right property of iodine. And can you explain what the difference between iodine and iodide?
Yes, iodine, and it's molecular iodine is infinite iodine in its very purest form, where it is iodine and water only. There's no other additives, there's no chemicals, there's nothing else that's in there. It took chemists 200 years to figure this out, okay? They've been trying for a long time to be able to produce infinite iodine. Well, we figured it out, easiest way to put it, and we were able to put it in a bottle, and chemists still don't believe it today. So we're able to do that. Now, iodide...
Can I show something about the infinite iodine before you start?
Yeah.
I'm just turning this on here. Give me 1 second. Okay, this is a nebulizer, everyone, okay? And maybe you can't see it coming out right now, but it's just starting. And what happens is, I'm going to tell you, if you don't mind me telling this, Terry, guys, you can believe this or not believe this. We have people that start off with 1 part iodine to 3 parts distilled water. If you have a structure unit, structure the water, because it'll take it in that much better. And what you're going to do is you're going to mix 1 part infinite iodine, 3 parts distilled water. If you have a structure unit, use it. If not, I get it. And guess what? Start with that and start nebulizing like you're addicted to it, like you're a vapor or you're like a drug addict. Okay, I'm serious. And I'm going to tell you something. We have people moving from doing 1 part iodine to 3 parts distilled structured water or just distilled water. And they'll actually go and they'll do it straight, Terry, straight infinite iodine. Now, I'm going to tell you something, and this is not a pitch. We have a gentleman out of Quebec. We have another lady out of Florida. Stage 4 inflammation, they call it cancer of the lungs. We had them do our perfect day. We did other things for them. We had them on other routines, but the main thing I had them hit, and I had them hit it hard. They have a personal vaporizer, nebulizer that they can do in their car when they're driving. They have another one that's in their house. And I said, you do it until you feel like you're going to cough. Then take a break. And when the coughing feels like it goes away, you do it again. Now, Terry, we hit this hard with people. Anybody that has COPD, okay, asthma, bronchitis, pneumonia, we start off gentle and then we go hardcore. And I'm going to tell you this. How about this? In the last 4 weeks, the reason why I said these 2 people, we've got people with stage 4 cancer of their lungs that went in and they couldn't find it after 6 weeks being on the protocol. I'm not asking for you to explain why if you don't want to, but the reality is we've never had that kind of change. That happened when Terry actually put this product together for us. And ever since we started nebulizing 2 years ago, we are having this pop up all the time. And whether you believe this or not, audience, the majority of elderly people right now are passing on due to lung complications. And the reason being is because everybody's pooping in their pelvis for the last 60, 70 years, and they don't know how to look after their bodies or detoxify properly or create a perfect day. You know, the majority of the population right now, we know that 85% of the population right now is obese or overweight. We know that 1 out of 2 people get cancer. 1 out of 2 people get heart disease. 85% of the population is pre-diabetic. I could keep going with these nonsense stats. So as soon as you want to start doing things differently, everyone, then you won't be a statistic anymore. Terry?
Okay, let's talk about the science of air technology.
Please.
For a minute, because you were showing your little nebulizer, and there's a lot of people that have repurposed a simple spray in the back of the throat because they want to breathe it into their lungs, and they you know, once they buy a product, you can do what you like with it. You know what I mean? So now, one thing I'll mention before I go on, because the 5 sprays a day that we've been doing to keep ourselves healthy, the #1 COVID doctor in America, his name is Dr. Joe Verone, and he works out of Houston. And the interesting thing was, about a little over a year ago, we met because he believed in iodine, and there's a nasal spray that's a betadine product that's not safe to ingest, but they have extraordinary results with the product to be able to kill COVID with it, as you know, as the work that was done in Connecticut, to be able to prove that you could kill it in your nose, right, for example. Well, Dr. Joe increased it and set up a protocol rather than 5 sprays a day, because he's not dealing with healthy people, he's dealing with sick ones.
Right.
Okay? So the people that came in either had COVID or influenza, strep throat, or RSV, or a combination of those. And he increased the dose from 5 up to 15 sprays a day.
I do 20. I do 20 with those people.
Okay, so here's the thing. He increased it up to 15 a day, and he didn't treat 1 or 2 patients. Hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of patients. Okay?
Right. Yeah.
And they all came back 100% symptom-free within 3 days. Simple. They were shocked. He was shocked. He was amazed. So that's why I've got Dr. Steve that I'm working with, because he can look back at the science and he and I can discuss it and understand it. I have, general practitioners that are the best in their field right now around the world working with us in order to explain to their industry how important molecular iodine is in a little bottle that they've never had access to before. So the medical community is calling this an incredible breakthrough in science. And at the same time, the older doctors are saying, we haven't seen anything like this in 100 years. And I found it interesting because you started in that vein going way back when. So the other thing to understand, as I explained to you, our bodies will actually are looking to scavenge iodine or iodide 24/7. So we go for the walk on the ocean, we go for the swim, we eat the fish, all right? But that's iodide. And molecular iodine is very, very rare in nature. But let me talk to you about the ocean again for a little bit, because you've got 1,000 tons of iodide burning off the ocean every day. And I like to think about things, and I started to sort of ask questions of, how does the earth disinfect the air that we breathe? Because the earth is not like a balloon where it lets some air out and we make some more. We're breathing the same air that's been here millions of years. And how does nature take care of that? So we know that the soils and the plants can remove certain metals and things, out of the air, but it doesn't kill anything. So that's sort of one where you ponder and you go, really? Well, when lightning strikes the ocean, molecular iodine is generated in the air from iodide, just like our stomach will convert it from iodide into molecular iodine in our body. The earth is like our body. It's figured out how to generate molecular iodine, and molecular iodine is nature's finest disinfectant. It's part of the process to make sure that the air all humans breathe is safe. So if molecular iodine was something that we couldn't breathe, then you'd never be allowed to go in the ocean in a storm. Simple as that, all right? Now, to give you an idea, and this is something that if you've ever been on vacation down south in the islands or in the Caribbean, and there's a thunder and lightning storm, and you see it coming in off the ocean, and the sun's going down, and it's spectacular to see. And then all of a sudden you feel this warm rush of air that hits you before the storm does. That's loaded with molecular iodine that you're breathing. Molecular iodine does one thing.
That's why I love living in Zihuatanejo, Mexico.
Yes. So we were designed to live near the ocean. And the further we've gotten away from the ocean as a human species, the more disease, the more trouble, all of these issues start to set in.
Yeah.
Well, this is an opportunity where we can bring something from the ocean into our bodies that we need desperately, because we're not getting it from the ocean, and we're not getting it from the food that we eat. Now, to give you an idea, Daryl, in 1800, there was 1 billion people on the earth, 1 billion total. And there was a massive issue with iodine deficiency, and they didn't know what the hell it was. And in 1811, when they discovered iodine, Lugol's, 10 years, 15 years later, brought out the first drug. Well, some of the people that had problems, with tuberculosis in their body, some of them had issues with their thyroid as well that seemed to just magically go away. Because the truth in the early 1800s, the medical truth, was that bad drinking water gave you goiter. Okay? And unfortunately, Lugol's didn't get to see the change in his lifetime, because 50 years later, they said they did the work. They did the science work and said, let's put it on table salt. He was right. Okay? So that's how important these discoveries are as they come along. And for us to have a 21st century technology, for the first time the world can ingest safely. And it's something that we have to have. I'm not sure how much more we can tell people about this, because it's from nature. It's 100% natural. Our bodies need it every single day. Now, if we could, let's just visit with children for a minute, okay? New discoveries, because there's constantly science work that's being done in very, very small quantities, because molecular iodine, so that it's very difficult to make, okay? And we have people in India, universities, are trying to get a hold of us so we can sell the molecular iodine for the research.
Right.
So that's not something that's simple to do. Now, with that sort of process on moving forward, when they've done work at a cellular level so we can start to understand what's going on there with the 3 different forms. Well, a woman's body, when she gets pregnant, her iodine requirement goes up 50% right away, because she's got to start to produce hormones and cells for that body to start to that new baby to start to form. Skeletal structure, brain structure, nervous system are the first 3 critical ones. And if mom does not have enough iodide in her system to be able to produce the hormones, the baby is going to be less than 100%. Simple. Okay? And when you and I went to school when we were younger, it was 1 in 2,000 kids had autism. Now it's, a discussion between 1 in 40 and 1 in 60. I don't care. It's terrible. And there is a relationship to our diet because of this. There's been an increase in women's fibroids and fibroid tissue and women's breast cancer.
Oh, that's a
4
fact.
years.
Well, yeah, that's a fact.
So the fact is, in a woman's body, her thermostat goes up when she's pregnant to be able to make sure that the fetus is going to be able to grow normally to the very best it can be as a human.
Right.
So once the baby's born, it goes up 100% in a woman from 150 micrograms to 290. She's got to have at least that because that baby is now taking the breast milk, and that's what it needs in order to make sure it's now a real human starting to develop new cells and grow in a huge way. So the problem with society right now is that when women get pregnant and they see the doctor, and the doctor says you need to take a prenatal pill, only 50% of the prenatal pills on the market have iodine in them. Why? We all know they need it. Otherwise, we're going to end up with lower IQs and all kinds of health issues.
Yeah.
And yet only half the products have got iodine in it, this element that we have to have as a human to grow.
If I can say something, everyone, I want you to go take a look at any prenatal supplement on the market that you want, and it won't even come close to our Sinonian mineral product. It doesn't even come close. Doesn't even come close. And then we always tell our female patients that they need to supplement with the infinite iodine. Can I just do a couple of things here? I want you to go through the whole age group, all the way through from being pregnant to a baby, all the way to the elderly. But I just want to say this. Sharon, no, the sale's on until Monday night with infinite iodine. It doesn't matter how many you buy. That's right. You can stock up if you want. We don't have a limit. Next thing is, Karen says, if allergic to beading, it must be bleeding, can you still take? I don't know what beading is, B-E-A-D-I-N-G. Karen, if you will retype it in, here's Jason. My mother's going through non-small cell cancer, and we don't know how to deal with this. Okay, I'd like to just say this. My mother went through that as well. And if you want to call me at 469-861-8884, that's my phone number. You can call me after this show. I've got a 2-hour gap before I come back on at 4 o'clock for what we call the Power Pack Show, where we're going to be showing you the most powerful energy medicine, the Cellsonic and the Cardio MedBed, and we're bringing on the inventor of the Cellsonic. That's at 4 today. But please give me a call, and if you don't call me today, call me tomorrow, and you can call me tomorrow anytime except in between 12:30 and 2:30. And I promise you, I will talk to you as a friend and tell you what I would do if she was my mother. Okay, I will not try to sell you anything. I will tell you, and I will ask you some questions like her weight, her age, and just her basic diet, what treatment she has, what things she's doing right now. So if you could put that together, point form, I don't mind helping you. Okay, let me see
Daryl,
here.
before you go on, let me just answer a previous question.
Yeah.
For kids, ages 1 to 12 years old, you're looking at 110 micrograms a day. So with infinite iodine, you're looking at between 3 and 4 sprays a day for kids. Okay? And that's up to 12 years old. Once they hit 12, then they can go to 5 sprays a day, and they're good to go. Now, I'll let you sort of let the cat out of the bag before we wrap up today, because we also have a product coming into the market for Daryl that is the only kids iodine product in the world.
In 6 weeks, everyone, we will have the only child-proof iodine product in the world. You go ahead and talk about it.
So what I was going to say is that for the product, the infinite iodine, children, adults can use it. Adults are 5 sprays, kids are 3 to 4, depending on 1 to 12 years old. The beauty about the kids product that we developed is that kids tend to be, and we can laugh about it, little bacteria or virus factories, because they're off going to school and they're doing daycare and they're doing this, and they tend to bring it back home. Okay, so we actually changed the formula so that they could use up to 20 sprays in a day and still have their RDA of 110 micrograms for that day versus only 3 or 4 sprays of the adult product, for example. And what that does is it gives peace of mind throughout the day that you can use it in the morning, they can use it in the afternoon, they can use it when they come home, they use it before they go to bed. And we know what molecular iodine does because we've been through it, and this is formulated so that it only delivers them 6 micrograms per spray rather than delivering 30 as we do for adults.
Right.
All right, for example.
Right.
So that way it gives sort of all day, I don't want to call it coverage, but it's like microdosing all day to keep your systems at the very tip-top shape all day long for little kids growing.
Beautiful. How can I use this spray, Gina asks, when I am in big pharma thyroid drug?
Well, there's a lot of people that are on Synthroid. That's the number one drug selling, as odd as it sounds, in the world right now, based on what I'm learning in North America, over in India, in Europe, this is in South America as well. People that are on the Synthroid product, often it's been, we have to say, overprescribed, because not everybody's missing a thyroid or has partial thyroid function that is on this product.
Okay? That's right.
So as you start spraying iodine in your mouth, you're going for blood samples because your doctor has to make sure that he's giving you the right dose of your synthetic product. So if you start taking 5 sprays of iodine a day, by the time you get in to see the doctor, he's going to, based on your blood chemistry, he's going to go, oh, your levels are actually up a little bit. And you go, perfect. I'd like to reduce the synthetic a little bit, and we're just going to keep going. I'll see you in another couple of months on where I'm at. Okay, for example. So the idea is, if you don't need to take a synthetic if you don't need to. If you need to, you have to have it. But the synthetic doesn't provide you with the molecular iodine or the iodide that your body needs. So you do have to supply it with a combination of both, and that's going to be up to you and your doctor to work out based on blood chemistry that he works, that, you know, is able to say, here's what's going on. Now,
but just let's say this, you cannot harm yourself on the infinite iodine or iodide. So understand that. So work with your doctor, but also go by your gut feeling, your instinct, and, you know, gentle baby steps.
You're correct, Daryl, because it's not only your gut feeling, it's actually how you are feeling. And
that's it.
People come back and they go, man, I have so much more energy all of a sudden. I'm feeling the way I should. And these are long-term users of 20, 30 years on Synthroid.
Yes.
All right? Example. So it gives us an option and an alternative, because when you go into your doctor and, you know, you're going, I'm feeling a little tired, I'm gaining some weight, I'm, you know, a little bit of brain fog, and he's going, here's a pill, rather than saying, change your diet. So what we take into our bodies, and I don't know if you're going to like this statement, but I was doing a lecture, Daryl, and I said that, and it's an important one, because women's health knowledge dictates the future of the human race. What women know and what they put into their babies and their children growing up dictate how long they're going to live, how healthy they're going to be, and how much they can actually enjoy living on this planet. So it's important for moms to understand this. All of us need to be educated, there's no doubt. But mom tends to do the buying for the family. Mom tends to take care of the children. So from that perspective, this is something like that's why I made the statement. You know, I do some work in the nutrition business, and I find, you know, 80-90% of the people in the business are women. So, you know, it's like, it's not, I'm sorry, Daryl, it's not very often, you know, that 2 soccer players or 2 hockey players get together on a Saturday and go, oh, I had a green tea concoction yesterday that was really good. Okay? They don't do that. Where women get together and they talk. So providing we can give them an opportunity to be educated, to turn on their telephones, and rather than playing around, Google iodine, molecular iodine, and what it is that it can do for you. It's all there at your fingertips today, where 30 years ago, you couldn't find it anywhere other than a medical library.
Yeah.
So I get excited about this because it is so important for all of us. And I'm doing this around the world. So it's not like we're saying, hey, we have a little hometown business here. We're trying to help a few locals in our family. Our family's the human race. We're trying to help everybody. So from that perspective, iodine, molecular iodine and iodide are both approved as dietary supplements globally. That's what they are. So it is a non-issue for us. It's just a matter of re-educating the population to say, if we move in this direction, you obviously you need a whole plethora of other things going into your body to keep you healthy. But if you're missing this one element, the rest of that stuff doesn't work very well.
So, yeah, somebody's asking, where can you get the product? Go to store.docofdetox.com, or just go to docofdetox.com and click on store. And somebody else is saying information on the product. Well, if you go to store.docofdetox and you look up Infinite Iodine, we have all the information there on Infinite Iodine and Infinite Iodide. And also, you can go into our library. Our library is the biggest self-care, self-love library in the world. and right all the way even into, you could take a Braveheart online emotional training course masterclass for free if you wanted to get this together. I mean, there's so much in there. I have somebody asking, she's saying that her son got this, all kinds of symptoms. Would the iodine help him?
Well, a simple answer is yes. Very simple. Okay?
Keep it simple.
We need to have it in our bodies. We have to have it in our bodies. Okay.
Yeah.
No matter what it is that we're battling in our bodies, we have to have it. Now, I'll just continue on the iodine thermostat for a minute.
Can I say this again?
Yes.
Docofdetox.com, everyone. Docofdetox.com. Okay? If you just go, it's not hard. Doc of Detox. Okay? .com. And if you have any health questions, you can call me tomorrow, which is Thursday or Friday. I'm taking calls at 469-861-8884. I'll put the information up on Facebook when I'm done at the top. But again, 469-861-8884. And understand, you can call me. You're never a bother. People can call me or my office at 855-900-4544. Understand something. It's our job to serve each other. Okay? Terry?
So I'll just wrap up on the population numbers that I was alluding to earlier. So in 1800, we had 1 billion people on the earth. All right? We discovered iodine. We used iodine on the battlefield in the Civil War as a disinfectant in the troops. That's where the doctors first used it, was on the battlefields in the Civil War.
Yes.
And the interesting thing is that they then added it to table salt in 1880. In the 1900, the population in the world was 1.6 billion people, and we still had a problem with iodine deficiency globally. All right? And it had been added to table salt 20 years earlier, but it was only just starting. From 1900 to today, another 120 years later, we went from 1.6 billion people to 8 billion people on the earth, and the World Health Organization says more than 2 billion of us are iodine deficient. There's more iodine deficient people today than there was on the whole planet 100 years ago.
Yeah, well, it's great how they tell us all these things, but they don't do much to help. But go ahead.
So the interesting thing is, you look at iodine deficiency is a specific category. There's a difference between deficiency and insufficiency. And insufficiency causes us all kinds of physical ailments as well. So they seem to have missed that gap, okay, to say, well, if you're deficient, that's really bad. But the fact is, if you're insufficient, you're going to have all kinds of health issues, and you're going to have a hard time rearing children that are going to be healthy, okay? And we want our kids to have the highest IQs going into the next century, to be smarter and healthier than we are. Mm-hmm. And we have an answer to do that very simply. Just take a simple element. So if you can reduce the colds and flus because you're healthier, that's a good thing. If a side effect is you may lose a few pounds, you may have a little more energy, and you may be thinking a little more clearly, those are wonderful side effects to have in life.
What are the symptoms of iodine deficiency?
Oh, you can easily Google that. That's a simple one. You've got cold
There's
skin.
a lot. There's a lot of them.
Oh, there's no doubt, because your thyroid, if you have iodine deficiency, your thyroid's not producing the hormones. If it can't produce the hormones, understand your thyroid is directly connected to your immune system, directly connected to your metabolism. Without iodine in a metabolic cell, it will not take nutrients and turn it into energy efficiently. That's remember we talked about part of the ocean environment?
Yep.
That is the environment that metabolic cells require to operate efficiently. So if you don't have these things in your body, you're going to end up, with obviously immune system issues. There's a big one. You're going to be catching more colds and flus for sure. You've also got problems with your metabolism. You're going to start to gain a lot of weight. It's going to be very difficult to lose it no matter what you do. So your skin tends to get cold all the time. You tend to be more susceptible to a colder environment. Like I said, you can Google it. They've known this for 100 years. It goes on and on.
It's A to Z. There's so many. Are you still with me?
I am, yes.
Good. Okay. What else here? Somebody's asking, listen, How do you cure your kidney disease? Well, understand something. Again, I will share what I know and what you can do for yourself. Do you understand? I have no problem if you want to call me, 469-861-8884. 469-861-8884. Or my toll-free number is 855-900-4544. That's 855-900-4544. And my extension's number 5. You can call me just as if you could call your next door neighbor. And I'm going to give you ideas of what I would do if I had your situation. Okay? Let's not look for a cure. Let's look for creating a perfect day in every way. I'm going to tell you something. When you create a perfect day on an emotional and physical nutritional level, you don't have to have symptoms or be sick. There is no diseases. And I'm telling you that right now. If anybody wants to come on a show and challenge me on this, I would love it, because guess what? They'll never do it. And if they do, they're insane. But the reality is all we do as health practitioners, and what Terry's doing is he's giving you what you should have naturally. Remember something, it's about finding balance, alignment, harmony right down to the cellular level. What do you think, Terry?
That's where it all starts. Okay, and that's why I work at a cellular level. So, viruses and bacteria, they really don't care what color your skin is. They don't care how much money you have. They don't care what religion you are. They don't care what language you speak. A fun way to compare this is, you don't want a virus in your computer. It starts to shut down your operating systems, and you get freaked out. You can watch it happening when a virus gets in your computer. Same thing happens in your body. It starts shutting down your operating systems. Period. You don't want it in there. And there's an opportunity to keep yourself healthy. And if you want to, equate it to this is like, the same thing that as an antiviral thing that you put in a computer to keep it safe from things that are trying to invade it. We're trying to help our body and our immune system stay safe from the invaders. It's fighting them every day. So, you're worried about catching COVID, or you're worried about catching the flu. Well, your immune system's dealing with everything else you're touching every day. Okay? It's got enough battles going on. It has to stay strong. And this is something that helps your immune system stay strong. Your thyroid has got to function properly in order for that to happen. This is a magical element that works in every cell of our bodies. And I can't speak enough about it. We can go on for days. But long story short, you now have the information. Live your best life. And this is one of the first stepping stones to get you there.
And somebody's asking, the Infinite Iodide, they have an expiry of 2 years, but they don't expire in 2 years, do they?
No.
Guys,
we're right now running through expiry to go out to 3 years, for example. As long as here's the thing, it's important to know how you use the product, because molecular iodine is very volatile. It would rather be in the air than in a solution. Okay, for example. Yeah. So when it's capped, it's got a special cap on it that lasts years and years and years. So that's really not an issue. Once you uncap the bottle and you put the sprayer in it, use it every day until it's finished. Because if you use it only half the bottle, you let it sit on the shelf for a couple months, you come back, the iodine will go from the solution into the air in the bottle. There won't be much left in the solution. So,
but until your bottle's open, don't worry. That's what we want everybody to understand. What we're told to do, what we're told to say may not be what's really